Good evening and welcome to the Child Month 2018 Teen Panel Discussion that's being hosted by the Department of Children and Family Services. I'd like to pause and invite Ms. Genevieve, who is the chairperson for the month of activities, to come and lead us in prayer, and then I will continue with the welcome.
Good evening. Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for this time as we are celebrating our children during this Child Month 2018. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for all the work that went into this teen panel. We crave your presence. We crave your leading. We thank you for the young people, and we pray a blessing on their lives that they will excel to their utmost. We thank you for all the participants and for all the planners of this event. We pray your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Genevieve. It's our pleasure to have you here this evening, and I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the Director of Education, Ms. Monteith, for joining us, and also to extend apologies on behalf of the Chief Officer for the Ministry of Community Affairs, who is unable to attend. We welcome you, and we really look forward to hosting our young people. This evening, representing among us are students from the Cayman International School, John Gray High School, Wesleyan Christian Academy, Clifton Hunter High School, Cayman Islands Further Education Center, Cayman Academy, Triple C, and I believe we also have a representative from Cayman BRAC from the Lehman E. Scott High School. In this discussion that we will have this evening with our students, we are going to hear their views on what affirming children means to them. I'm sure, as you would expect, young people not only tell us, but we will also see some expressions of what it means to them. I'd like to extend our appreciation to the parents who have joined the children who are participating, as well as to the staff of the schools who are represented here for your support in preparing the students for this discussion. We look forward to them articulating what they need from us. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to the moderators, Ms. Camille Angel and Mr. Androl Harris, to the Child Month 2018 committee members who are present, staff of DCFS, Government Information Service representatives, other media house representatives, to our videographers, and to the entire audience. We trust that you will enjoy the discussion and hearing from our young people as they participate in the celebration of Child Month 2018. I'd like to introduce our moderators for the evening, and they are, and if you can stand at this point, Camille Angel and Androl Harris. It's my pleasure now to invite Ms. Camille Angel, and she will take it from here in introducing the panelists for the first session. Please welcome her as she comes.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Director, and our dignitaries, as well as our audience members, students, teachers, parents, and all who have joined us today. With all formalities established, we would like to welcome you, our audience and viewers, to today's panel discussion. My name is Mrs. Camille Angel, and I am a CARICOM Youth Ambassador.
And I'm Androl Harris, and I'm also a CARICOM Youth Ambassador.
Androl and myself represent Cayman at a regional level through CARICOM youth conferences that create dialogue about issues that are important to young people in the Caribbean community as a whole.
We're pleased to be here with young people who represent a diverse cross-section of our schools. They've been nominated for their debate acumen to share their thoughts on this year's Child Month theme of Rise Up and Affirm, with AFFIRM being an acronym that stands for Acknowledge, Friend, Favor, Inspire, Respect, and Motivate. Now, this call to action is to ask adults to support young people by modeling respectful behaviors that lead to a better relationship.
Fostering affirmation of young people's experiences when transitioning from adolescence to adulthood, as many of our panelists are, is a way to bridge generational divides and is important during a time that is characterized by regular challenges and hardships, which make teens question whether they are being heard, taken into account across their home life, school life, laws, community, and beyond, all facets of which their contributions can make them productive and thriving citizens and give them the best quality of life they deserve.
Now, we hope to learn what kind of affirmation most young people would like to see from adults in an effort to ensure that they're being heard. Our goal is to spark a dialogue that extends beyond this panel and makes a lasting impact on youth, families, and families across the Cayman Islands. So let's get started with the discussion. We will be calling panel 1 to the stage pretty shortly, and at which time I will be leading that discussion, and we'll be asking the students some questions for about half an hour or thereabouts on the topic of Rise Up and Affirm. They'll have 1 minute to respond. Most student panelists are also joined today by other students from their schools in the audience. And at the end of our questions to the panelists, we'll also welcome the students representing their corresponding schools in the audience to share in the dialogue as well. And also they too will have about a minute to answer.
Afterwards, we'll ask the panel to be seated as we bring up the new panel, and I will ask them questions when they take the stage for about half hour as well. They'll have about a minute, the same, and the student audience members will also have about a minute to share before we conclude that panel.
Now, following our conclusion, we'll call for certificates to be presented and, of course, a photo op to wrap up today's events. So with that said, let's get started, and thank you, Camille. Let's call to the stage panel 1. Of course, I'm terribly sorry if I butcher anyone's name in advance. Yesenia Ebanks from Lehman E. Scott High School. We'll have Trinity Dixon from the Cayman Islands Further Education Center. We will also have Sarafina Mitchell from Cayman Academy, and we will have Regina Erespi from Triple C. Okay, and so for those of you who weren't lucky enough to participate last year, I will tell you right now to brace yourself. The panelists last year did a phenomenal job, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see the exact same thing. No pressure, right? So having said that, let's get started with what are the qualities, or rather the qualities we value are a sign of who we aspire to be. And we look to people who have those qualities as an inspiration and a guideline for who we might want to be one day. So, to the panel, what are the qualities you most admire in people? And Regina, since you're right next to me, we'll start with you.
Some qualities I admire in people are them being friendly, honest, and their ability to interact with others as well.
All right, and Sarafina?
Some qualities that I admire in people are them having good manners. It shows that they have respect for others as well. Another quality is them being ambitious. It shows how they know what they want in life.
And Trinity?
Some qualities that I admire is compassion. Without that, you can't really understand a person or make a difference, as well as determination. Through that, you're able to complete an objective that you've wanted to and possibly earn the career you've always wanted.
And Yesenia?
Some qualities that I admire is honesty and the ability to communicate and understanding, because like you really have to try to put understanding when you're communicating with other people.
All right. So a parent or guardian will always expect to be treated with respect. Whether they've raised a child or recently became a part of their life, they will rely on this to shape their relationship. Respect is an integral part of parent or the parent-child relationship. Where should it begin? And we're going to start right back again with you, Yesenia, this time. Go for it.
Respect within like a parent-child relationship is needed. With a child and a parent having respect for a child is what will bring the respect from the child also. So I feel like if a parent respects their children and they take their time to understand and speak to them properly, then a child will do the same, because without the respect there, the child will like start to do their own thing and they won't really respond in a way that a parent would like.
All right. And Trinity?
Well, a child, as they grow, they learn all of their mannerisms from their parents, so it should always start at the home. Parent and child having respect in the relationship is really needed for them to go out into the world and respect others as well as themselves. It should start with the parent and the child, because a lot of the time the children aren't really understanding what they're doing because their morals and their values haven't been developed through the parents.
And Sarafina?
For me, a parent and child relationship should begin from a very young age. A relationship like that isn't something that happened instantly, basically. It's something that is built on over the years. And I believe that from a young age, it can be displayed well when the person has grown up.
I believe respect should start with the parent so that the child can learn about respect and understand how it works at a very young age and how important respect is.
All right. This one's a long one, so you guys are going to have to listen keenly. Bullying, truancy, criminal behavior, and drug use have been growing concerns for students. These behavioral issues may be a sign of other underlying issues that need to be addressed early on to help children grow and develop within a preventative framework that keeps them out of our court system, out of delinquency and offers them an opportunity to thrive. Many children face this issue, caught between the reality of their choices and their adult caregivers, who must face the reality of the criminal justice system that relies on our community to hold it accountable for the impact it plays in the roles of our daughters, our sons, our children, and family. These behavioral issues are multifaceted. When considering the emotional state of the children and the family, the financial costs of the court, and the window of reintegration and rehabilitation, most would say that these issues begin with the family, even though it takes a village to raise a child. And so the question, what do you think adults can do to support children with behavioral issues? All right.
I believe adults, like the parents or even teachers, could try to communicate with the child better with the behavioral issues or give them attention, because that may be the reason why they're behaving in such way.
And Sarafina?
Personally, it's to become an active part in the child's life and to learn how to communicate with them through their high and low points. Better communication will lead to understanding of reasons for behavioral issues that they can work on together to create solutions.
I believe that adult any adult can make an impact on a child's life just by listening without judgment. A lot of the times, these kids are looking for a way to get out of a situation, but they're afraid of the judgment. And sometimes when they go to talk to an adult or anyone they go to talk to, they just want someone to listen without the judgment, without the arguing. So I believe where it begins is just with listening and moving forward and developing trust.
In some cases, parents will communicate with their child and ask them, like, what's wrong. But sometimes they just hear, which is an involuntary action, but they don't actually listen, like they don't understand. And if they take the time to like try to understand them and listen to everything they're saying, I think children wouldn't go so far into these bad behavior issues. They'd actually be fine with talking to their parents, and maybe that'd just be fine with them because they know their parent is there listening and understanding.
All right. Now, when we're young, we tend to critique our parents and guardians, often thinking, if I were a parent, I would do this instead, or supposing that we might treat our own children differently one day. Sometimes when we are between a rock and a hard place and they tell us to find our solution, we think of their great tales, or traits rather, and why we love them. But being a parent is demanding, and while we navigate our young lives, we may go about or back and forth and to these moments and think that, what we did or what they did was good and what they could have done better. What are the top 5 attributes parents should possess and why? And I'm going to start with you, Trinity.
I believe they should have sympathy. They should be compassionate, sympathetic with the child. Growing up, this is a fast-moving generation, so it's not the same generation. So with that, I believe that they should be sympathetic. I also believe that they
It's okay. I'll help you there with a question. What are some of the 5 attributes that you believe parents should possess and why? That's all right. That's all right. I'll give you a chance to compose your thoughts. And I'll give, we'll come back to this one, and you'll get a chance to weigh on in. But in the meantime, while you compose your thoughts, I'll move on to Yesenia Eubanks.
I feel a parent should be understanding. I cannot stress how much understanding plays into this. Like, without understanding, so many things can go wrong. I feel a parent should be respectful. You need respect between a child and a parent in order for them to grow up doing the right things and for all other people. I feel a parent should be a good communicator. If you're not talking to your child, how are they supposed to express themselves? They'd go and do other things because they feel like they can't come and talk to you.
I see. And then skip right over to you, Regina.
5 attributes that I believe parents should possess are being approachable, and so the child could talk to them confidently and without judgment. Another attribute could be that they could be a good listener, so that the child could feel secure and safe when they are talking to them. Another one is being understanding. This really is important because I believe that the child needs to have some sort of security that the parent is understanding them. And then there's also the ability to compromise and be positive.
And yes, Sarafina.
I couldn't come up with 5, but I came up with one main one that I think is a broad topic to speak on. An attribute that parents should possess and why is being open-minded and understanding, because it's in a way helpful, because when you communicate with each other, yeah.
Don't worry. If our panel appears to be stumped, it's because we're asking really hard questions. So, no. And so far, they've lived up to expectation, and they're doing really well. And they'll be pleased to know they're almost out the hot seat. Final question. You're a student in your current school system. Your education will be your future. What are your ideas about changes that could be implemented in the school system to benefit our students? And start with you, Sarafina.
Some things that can be implemented is to supply more hands-on or practical courses. It's because some people are not meant to be into the book works as much as other people are. Some people like to do things like mechanics or art or other things. I believe that should be implemented.
All right. And on over to you, Yesenia.
In some schools, I don't know if this is in all schools, but I feel like peer counseling could be a good thing. I know they tried it in my school once, but we never really got through with it. But children normally like to talk and confide in somebody of their own age. That's a normal thing. Sometimes they don't really like to go to adults. Sometimes they don't feel like they can be very confiding in them. So therefore, like, if you put in peer counselors, like people that have training in the counseling, but they're just a friend, they should be allowed to talk to people of their age group.
See? And Trinity?
A lot of the times, teachers are extremely busy, and as students, we do notice it a lot. And sometimes, personally, I wish that teachers had more time on their hands to just help us with the extra work that we have, or when we're struggling with something. A lot of the times, the teachers just don't really understand because they're busy, they have meetings, or they have another student to deal with. It would be nice if there was extra help on the side when we don't have it.
Yeah.
I believe that school officials like teachers, principals, vice principals should hear the students' opinions, whether it's for dress code or certain subjects or certain teachers, that they have their opinion on them, and if they like them or they don't like them. I think that would really improve the school system.
All right, now I know I said final question, but anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem are some of the emotional issues children are living with. Pop culture and television shows often depict teen suicide, self-harm, alcoholism, drug use, and other behaviors as a consequence of these emotional issues. Citing a lack of mental health care options, counseling facilities, coping mechanisms, or positive influences that promote self-expression. My question to you, my panel, is there's been an increase in the number of children living with emotional issues. How can adults encourage these young people to speak up about what they're feeling and what they're experiencing? And start with you, Regina.
I think adults could let the children know who are suffering with different issues, including mental problems and other things. The adults could let the children know that they could talk to them without judgment and properly listen to them with understanding.
And we'll continue down the line. So, Sarafina?
I think adults should let them know that they are for them, no matter what they're experiencing. Also, another thing is to put them in a group with people who are in similar cases as them, so they will so they can open up and see how it is, or how they, or have other views of how people with the same case deals with it.
See? And Trinity?
They could start by talking about their own experiences, or maybe something that they have witnessed from other people. Just showing the kids that, it's not something that you're crazy, because a lot of the time, these children, they're too afraid to speak up because they're nervous. People will think they're crazy for it. And a lot of the time, they're just looking for a way out. So I believe that maybe if adults would speak about their own experiences, that they would just see that what they're experiencing isn't something that you should be ashamed of. It's something that you should take care of, because as a person, you're still human, even if you have a mental issue, and you should have that dealt with properly with professional help instead of just keeping it bottled up, because that'll only go on to so many other things that is wrong.
I feel as if adults do give the option for children to speak with them, but I know a lot of the time the issue is confidentiality. I feel like if an adult were to tell the student how much, like, that their information that they're talking about, like all of their feelings and stuff would be private, that they would be more willing to open up, because I know that students are very fearful of opening up because it will go around, it will spread around the place.
Well, no relationship is perfect, but some of the best relationships are ones that we strive to improve. How can parents improve their relationships with their children? Yesenia?
Communication and understanding. Parents will talk to their children, but as I said before, they hear, which is an involuntary action, but they don't actually take the time to listen and talk to them with their own feelings and emotions. And if they take the time to understand their child, then I feel like that would make a closer bond between the parent and the child, because it'll make a closer relationship, because they'll be willing to talk about anything that's going wrong with them instead of seeking something else to help them.
Trinity?
I would believe that they should build a trusting and safe environment in the home. It all starts at the home. If they're not able to have a safe environment to speak of their feelings, there's nothing there to grow. They're just going to keep a box. They're going to box themselves up from their parents. And a lot of the time, when there's no safe place at home, they look for it in other places. So it should start at home, creating a safe environment. And for the parent to become an active member of their education, keeping on top of what they're doing at school can be a big indication of what's going on at home.
Sarafina?
I think they should communicate regularly with each other one-to-one, because if you don't communicate with each other, there will be no solution to the problem that both have with each other.
I think the parent could encourage the child, especially in schoolwork, if they do good. And they could also push them to do better if they're not doing as well as they should be, or the parent should, they're not doing as well as the parent think that they should be doing.
And final question. The theme of Child Month 2018 is Rise Up and Affirm, an acronym that stands for Acknowledge, Friendship, Favor, Inspire, Respect, and Motivate. Which of these elements has been most important to you in your personal journey? Is it being acknowledged forming friendships with a trusted adult, being shown favor, being inspired, respected, or motivated. Start with you, Regine.
For me, it would be being acknowledged.
And why?
Because usually when I struggle in school, I like to be acknowledged, knowing that I just don't have to give up and that I could keep going and proceeding on with what I had to do.
And Sarafina?
For me, it would be to be motivated, because without motivation, I wouldn't do what I'm supposed to do on a daily basis.
And Trinity?
For me, it would also be motivation, because without motivation, I wouldn't have the push to continue. When I found out I failed my maths, my mother said that it's okay, try again, keep pushing. And without that, I don't think I would have kept pushing without that motivation.
I feel it is to have a trusting relationship with an adult, because I feel like once you have that relationship, everything else will be put into place. Then the adult will start to motivate you, be behind you, be pushing you to do the right and good things that you need. So that's how I feel.
All right, guys, and thank you very, very much for that round. At this stage, however, we will at this time give the opportunity to any students in the corresponding schools to have their say on the questions that were asked. So the floor is open to anyone who might want to ask or answer. All right. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, our first panel, one more round of applause as we change out to the second. And I will now call my female counterpart, Ms. Camille Angel, to take the stage.
Hey guys, welcome. I hope none of you are nervous. It'll be really fun. All right, so let's get started with our first question. I think we'll start right over there in the corner. So, affirmation is defined as the assertion that something exists or is true. Sometimes we notice there is a gap between adults and children that results from the inability to relate to one another and affirm the experiences that children are going through. That is, to acknowledge they exist and are true to the child. Affirmation is not only something we strive for in the intergenerational sense, but also in our everyday lives and in our community. What does affirmation mean to you?
To me, affirmation means emotional support. It could also mean a practice of positivity and self-empowerment.
To me, affirmation is support. Is just to know that someone is behind you, knowing what you're doing is good, knowing that, all right, for an example, you made a mistake, knowing that, all right, they can correct you and then next time you can do better, or to just uplift you, bring you up, know that what you're doing is correct.
Yeah, same thing with me. Affirmation means support, whether positively or negatively, like gives you impact of what your life can be, whether it's just small critiques or big positive feedbacks. Affirmation means a lot.
For me, affirmation means to encourage support or give support to someone, or encourage them to try to do better and motivate them.
Okay, thank you guys. So, on to our next question. Negative headlines are often the first that we read, and these play an integral role in shaping the discourse of teen issues and raising the points that will be talked about most predominantly in our country. It is clear there is a growing concern about drug use, firearms, road safety, quality of education, sexual health, underemployment, sociocultural identity, family togetherness, and more. We should reflect on whether these headlines explain the lived experience of children in the Cayman Islands, and this is something that perhaps happens best outside of the headlines. In dialogue, when young people are listened to and their voices are affirmed as the best indicators of what their life is like in this moment. What are the major issues that children in the Cayman Islands face, and how would you propose to solve these issues?
Children in the Cayman Islands public schools lack the proper resources needed. At my school, Clifton Hunter, we normally have no paper. John Gray is currently still at the old campus, and the new campus has yet to be finished. But school must still go on. Youth normally aren't taken seriously due to the fact that some adults are very small-minded.
So I feel as though a major issue that we face here in the Cayman Islands are that children are leaving school the same way that they came. So for an example, we have kids coming here in year 7 and they are placed in Stat 6 and they leave in year 11 in Stat 6. There's no improvement, and I feel as though that is a big issue. So how are they expected to feel as though we're behind them and supporting them if they're not moving? So I feel as though we can fix it by changing the way that we teach them, because I noticed that kids that are in Stat 6, they prefer more hands-on learning, and they excel more in the tech core subjects, which is more hands-on learning. So why not teach the core subjects the way that you teach the tech core subjects, having blocks and etc. for them to, use and interact and, get better. So I feel as though that's a major issue.
All right, to me, my answer would be lack of options when they leave high school. It may seem as a minor problem now, but later on in society, it become a major problem. And that now will have a large impact on the Cayman Islands, because the children are the Cayman Islands' future. And if we have lack of options, what options that Cayman will survive in the next 10, 20 years when the government wants us to produce over 100,000 people? So lack of options when we leave high school, that's my answer.
For me, my answer would be lack of knowledge of the real world and how the real world works. For example, when they go out and study in the university in other countries, they don't really know how the process, they don't even know the culture, they don't even know how exactly they can survive in that environment. And I believe they need more training in that. Also, they need to have the feeling of more motivation onto them, and they need to feel respect and love.
Thank you. As we age, it is easy to forget that we were once young. The experiences young people are going through are those that adults have already been through. Those same embarrassments, shortcomings, and questions are not too different, though the eras we have lived through may be very different with the advent of the internet, the ease of travel, and changing norms. Still, when adults seek to affirm young people's experiences, there are some misconceptions that hinder communication with the younger generation. My question is, what are common misconceptions that adults have of children, and do these misconceptions shape adults' attitudes towards children? If so, can you please explain? We'll start with Kaylee this time.
A common misconception is that we have no sense, that we sit on our phones all day and do nothing. We listen, we observe, we know what's going on around us.
All right, I feel as though a common misconception that I guess adults and parents have are that we make mistakes. I guess as a parent, you would want your child to not do certain things that you've done. But I know as teens, I'm very hard-headed, meaning I want to know, I want to know that if I push this over, it's going to drop. So I want to try and do it for myself. So I feel as though that's what parents need to understand. That's what they forget, that they were once kids. They need to make their own mistakes. They need to get it wrong. That's how they're going to learn. That's how it is in the real world. You're not going to be behind them all the time. They're going to have to make their own mistakes. They're going to have to do things their way. So allow them to do that. Allow them to get it wrong. Allow them to get it wrong, because that's how life is.
A misconception that adults have on us is that we're just an atom in the atmosphere, and they're well fixed-minded. And even though we may be an atom in the atmosphere, we're like the atom of air. We're free to move around, we're free to develop, we're free to be who we want to be when we grow up. And if they have this blockage of us, we have to take the blockage down personally, because those blockages ain't gonna help us develop to become further people in society and to help development in the Cayman Islands.
I believe one common misconception is that adults believe children are immature sometimes, and also I believe that the adults believe that the children don't know or don't have any knowledge on the real world how to survive in it. I believe that children actually know a little bit, they can function in it, but they still need some support to further on their adventure.
Thank you all for your responses. We'll begin with Christopher this time. So, developing interpersonal relationships and strengthening familial bonds or community ties are some techniques that help us when we are working on affirming and effectively understanding each other, or just aiming to bridge the generational gap between children and adults. It could be as simple as a family dinner, being driven to school by our guardian, helping our grandmother with a weekend garden project, fishing with our uncle, or asking an advisor for help in a leadership role at a community service club or our church. All of these are examples that are aimed at building bonds and can create opportunities to affirm young people and encourage their growth and development. My question is, what are the most important things that adults can do to aid you in your personal growth and development?
I believe that adults can show the children more love, express to them love, show them to be more kind, and tell them how much they love them in a unique way, not in the same boring way, I love you, kid, I love you, my son, things like that, in a more unique way, more creative way, so they could actually feel it. It could be a different way, so they could actually remember that moment and say, oh, I remember that moment when my dad say I love you in this way.
The most important thing for me that I could do is just be there for me, whether it's through schoolwork, through competitions, through everyday stuff, through troubled times, just be there for me. Whether, it's just something simple, but it means a lot in the long outcome. So when you further on generation, you be like, okay, my mother or father was there for me through this hard time, and now I'm here for you.
So for me, the most important thing an adult can do for me is to just listen. I understand that sometimes as adults you feel as though you know everything, but there are things that you can learn from me. There are things that I can teach you because you don't know everything. So, so I feel as though if you could just listen, hear me out, let me note my the reason behind why I say a certain thing. Let me express myself. Just listen.
Be more open-minded. If your child decides they want to become an author instead of a lawyer, let them do it. Let them pursue their dreams.
Thank you all for your responses. I really like what you guys said. It actually brings me back. My dad used to take me to buy some new school shoes every year, and that's a different way of showing that I love you. And it affirmed, it definitely made me feel good, take pride in myself and my appearance. So our next question, we'll start with Kaylee. There are many influences that affect our lives. Some will be forces for good and others will not. It takes strength to navigate through our daily lives and to make positive choices that will lead us to prosperity and peace of mind. For most people, there is someone who guides them, whose life serves as a testament which they would like to model, sometimes even a moral compass. Whether they are a relative, a teacher, a community leader, or an adult who takes the time to affirm you with helpful advice. Identify an influential adult in your life and the most important attribute they possess that has had an impact on your life.
There are two people in my life I find very influential. That is my mother, Paula Roy, and my stepmom, Deborah Barker Roy. These two women have been by my side since day one, and I don't know what I'd do without them. They support me in any decision I make. My mom and stepmom are very caring and kind people. They are also very studious and love to work. Nothing holds them back.
The most influential person in my life is Miss Aldemeyer, teacher at my school, John Gray High School. She does not stop until a task is complete, and that teaches me resilience to know that I'm not going to rest until that task is done. I'm not going to rest until I'm where I want to be. I'm where this task should be. I'm where basically where I want to be. And she also teaches me that you must give everything your 100%. You must give your all to something if you're going to fully commit to it. And that's something that you should take in life. When you go off to college and when you go off to the working world, you have to give your all.
All right, for me, there are many influential persons in my life, my mother, father, friends, family, teachers. But that one person that really made an impact is the president of Jamaica Senate, Senator Floyd Morris. He really inspires me because he has a disabled and he's blind, but yet he's a president of Jamaica Senate, and that says a lot. He failed all his CXCs, but still was determined to go back and do them over, and he went to University of West Indies and got so many bachelors and masters, and he is my person who inspires me.
The person that inspires me are my parents, my mom and dad. They've been through a lot ever since they were young kids, young people. They had many difficulties. They didn't grow up as the same way I did. They didn't have the many faculties. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the same benefits that I had. They have many disadvantages. And they inspired me to become a better person, to study actually hard, to be more friendly, be more social, to try to be a better person in society, and also to take those benefits that I have and maximize them to the maximum effort I can give them.
Thank you. And shout out to Ms. Eldemeyer also, who she was my Key Club teacher. So I know how inspiring, and also from hearing your stories just on the panel about your parents, about people that you look up to, community leaders. Thank you guys for being honest and sharing what you really value about them and how they face adversity. So on to our next question. The parent-child and guardian-child relationship is one of the most important that we may experience. An absence or presence of that relationship can affect us profoundly, and that relationship is one that develops and can change as we age. With its ups and downs, it can be rife with the conflict of adolescence or compounded by other problems that hinder the relationship. It may be strong with the desire to affirm or to reach common ground by growing together. Everyone's parenting approach is different. Some are kind and tolerant, others are stern and disciplinary, while others prefer transparency and honesty. No matter the approach, the aim remains to promote the child's eventual growth and development. In what ways do you think parents can improve their parenting approach? Start with Kaylee.
I've said this multiple times, but please be more open-minded. Hear your child out. If your child wants to experiment with their hair, the way they dress, or even sexuality, let them be. We are who we are, and you telling us we can't do or be something will only make us worse. It'll eventually make us, not want to listen to you guys. A child who is held back will be the one to let loose as an adult. Be more understanding. Be a parent.
I feel like parents and children can improve their relationship by communicating more. So I know me as a child, when I'm communicating with my father and etc. and sharing something with him, I want him to know, like for an example, I'm talking to my father, I want him to know that he can tell me about his day as well as how I can tell him about his day. So we should have that relationship, that one-on-one relationship in which we can talk about anything. I can feel free to come to him about anything. So therefore, I guess we have to have that friendly relationship first instead of just always him being stern on me or as a father figure, but just coming to me as a friend first, because I feel as though I can be more open with him if he's my friend first. So I guess, yeah.
For me, it would be to not only focus on one aspect of parenting, but focus on all aspects, like love. Not only love yourself, love your child, but love God. Get God in your life. For me, it's also like approach, listen to each other, respect each other. By the end of the day, the parent should know that they're the alpha, but sometimes they must be the omega and actually listen to their child.
For me, I believe that to improve the parental relationship with children and adults, I believe the parents should be more kind to the child, show love and respect, treat the child as his best friend, but still have the authority of the child. Treat the child as how you will treat a wife or girlfriend, but still have authority of it. Don't be too direct with the child, and be more careful with the words because they hurt.
Thank you guys for your remarks. I will start with Christopher. So we all know about that person who chews gum loudly, the relentless pen clicker, the person who's overeager to cut into a conversation. And we recognize those bad habits easily, but sometimes the habits we most dislike are not as apparent. It could be the way we are treated, how we are spoken to, attitudes or behaviors we don't appreciate that may not match up with our value system or reflect misconceptions about who we are. They can get in the way of us forming meaningful, positive relationships. My question is, what common habits do adults have that teenagers do not appreciate?
I believe one common habit that adults have that teenagers don't like is when the teenager tries to speak to an adult and sometimes they're occupied, the adult won't listen or won't talk to the child, or he will just say, yeah, okay, but he won't really listen. He will just hear, but he won't pay attention to the child. And later on, when the child actually asks him again, the adult will say, what you, I don't know what you're saying.
Yes, for me, sometimes I think it's twisted back ways. Like, they always say teenagers are on our phones, but if I'm trying to call my mom to get me to drive me somewhere, she's playing Candy Crush on the road. And I'm trying to help to go to school, but the best thing I should think to do is have presence in their child's life. Like, actually be there for them throughout their life. Like, be there, be present for them, trust them, love them, just be present for them.
I feel like parents, they don't remember that they were once children. They don't remember that they had wants that we wanted to. They wanted to go to a party too on a Friday night and etc. They don't remember that. So I feel like that's a common issue that teenagers don't appreciate amongst adults. They don't remember that they were once children.
Some teenagers do not appreciate the amount of love they get from their parents. Some teenagers need to realize that their parents will do anything for them. Not everyone has that privilege. Teenagers in the Cayman Islands often take things for granted. We are truly blessed.
Thank you all for explaining your perspectives. That was really interesting to hear. I'm hearing a lot about actively listening and also about being on each other's, on the same level and kind of relating to each other and appreciating what you're going through in this moment. So we have one last question, and it's an extra question. You heard it asked to the last panel. The theme of Child Month 2018 is Rise Up and Affirm, an acronym that stands for Acknowledge, Friend, Favor, Inspire, Respect, and Motivate. Which of these elements has been the most important to you in your personal journey? Is it being acknowledged, forming friendships with a trusted adult, being shown favor, being inspired, respected, or motivated? Like Kaylee.
Could you please repeat the question?
The theme of Child Month 2018 is Rise Up and Affirm, an acronym that stands for Acknowledge, Friend, Favor, Inspire, Respect, and Motivate. Which of these elements has been most important to you in your personal journey? Is it being acknowledged, forming friendships with a trusted adult, being shown favor, being inspired, respected, or motivated?
I think that really the aspect that affected me the most would be being supported in anything I do, and having somebody to speak to and open up to that you can trust.
Thank you.
I think forming friendships with adults, because you learn a lot off of your older influencers. So I feel as though, I guess, me coming to them with a problem that they've already been past or whatever. I feel as though I can relate, I guess, when they can relate to me and help me solve my problem, they help me. Yeah.
Mine would have to be motivation, because if you asked me 3 years ago to represent the leader of opposition in youth parliament, I'd call you crazy. But people's motivated me throughout my life. It is small things. Motivation is small, but can really make a big impact once you have people who help you. Because I really had a keen interest in government, but I really know how to represent myself. But I was motivated through my school to Ms. Zena, who also promoted me to youth parliament, and I'm in regional youth parliament, so motivation will have to be for me.
You did great. It was a great performance.
Thank you.
For me, I believe it's friendship with a trusted adult. I believe that if you have a friend or friendship with a trusted adult, then that adult will actually inspire you. He will help you. He will motivate you. He will be someone there for you, even as you could say as a brother to you. He'll be close to you, and he will help you. He will try to help you in the problems that you have, and He will try to tell you what's good or right, and he will tell you from past experiences.
Thank you. Thank you all. Heard some very interesting comments throughout the time here, our first panel and also our second panel. Thank you. So again, your open and honesty, your openness and honesty, we really regard that. Thank you guys for coming here and being today and representing your schools on today's Child Month panel for 2018, Rise Up and Affirm. I'll now ask if there are any students that are representing from any of the schools or any of your corresponding schools that would like to take to the mic and share any thoughts about anything that we spoke about today. Okay. Crowd is quiet today. So with that being said, thank you to all the students. On behalf of myself and Andrel, we, the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors, are really pleased to be able to join you today. And thank you to the Department of Children and Family Services for inviting us into this conversation. So I'll now ask panel 2 to exit the stage for us to your right as we prepare to present certificates. Thank you guys. A round of applause. They were great. Afterwards, the Department of Children and Family Services will close today's event after we take our photos and certificates, and they'll end with brief remarks. Thank you, audience.
Thank you, youth ambassadors, for handling that part of the discussion. I'm a little bit worried. We've just had some really important commentary coming for our young people, and the applause for their participation really is lacking. As adults, let's do the graceful thing of standing and applauding them. Yes. Thank you so much. As the young people spoke, I found myself as a mother of adults now. Yeah, I can say that. My son is now an adult. I found myself thinking through, as a parent, do I measure up to those things that they're saying? You know, did I parent with compassion? Was I sympathetic? Did I give the time? Or did I say, yeah, and then they come up, well, what are you talking about now again? You know, was I available? And these are the things that they're asking from us as parents. Are we really invested in them in a way that allows them to develop and to be nurtured to become the productive persons that we want them to be? Are we there really supporting them? Or are we setting a bar high and not helping them to walk that ladder to the top? And I really want to urge us as adults and in our communication with our adult friends and so on, and our relatives, that we share with them the importance of this feedback that we received today. So again, young people, thank you very much. I thought it was really insightful. There were times when we were there just doing our hands like this because we could not clap hard to interrupt you. But your view on what is important to you, your view as to how we work with you, really was very insightful. So thank you very much again. Thank you to the schools who work with them and prepare them. Thank you for the examples that they were able to identify within their immediate environment. Some of them highlighted their family members, their moms, their dads. Some of them talk about their guidance teachers. Some talk about other persons within the school community. And I think it is wonderful when young people look around that they can at least identify someone, at least one person, who is making a difference in their lives. So that was really great. Melissa's joined me, and Melissa's going to be calling their names so we can give them their certificates of participation. As they come, please give them a round warm of applause.
Okay, first up, we have Yesenia Ebanks from Lehman E. Scott High School. Alrighty, we have Trinity Dixon coming from Cayman Islands for the Education Center. Sarafina Mitchell from Cayman Academy. Regina Irespi from Triple C. Christopher Rivers from Lehman East Scott High School. Rayon Porter from John Gray High School. Leah Robinson from John Gray High School. Kaylee Roy from Clifton Hunter High School. And we also have Nalia Panton from SciFec.
Thank you. While I'm going to call Kai to do the vote of thanks. I'd like to pause to acknowledge our Miss Zola, who is our child for the month of May 2018. Zola, if you can stand so we can recognize you, please. And what I did not say at the time when I introduced Zola in the church a week and a half ago is that Zola is Elfina's daughter, and Elfina has really been a really great support of the department. So Zola's mom is also here, as well as her sister. So Elfina, you get to do a little bow this time. Hold the camera though. Great. It's important for us to recognize parents because as our young people spoke this afternoon, we realize that they need an important person in their life guiding and supporting them. And the person that our young lady is today, I'm sure she could not have achieved all of that without the support of her family and her parents around her. So it is a well worth investment you've made into her, Elfina. Kai, can you join us and give us a vote of thanks, please?
Good evening, everyone. All right. Our children have spoken. I trust that we listened and that we are prepared to help to shape world-class children through affirmation. I heard the moderator, Camille, affirming one of the panelists, and I felt good, yes? So I trust that we will be able to continue to affirm our children and listen to them. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the director of our department, Mrs. Felicia Robinson, our deputy director, Paulinda Mendoza Williams, the DCFS Child Month committee members, our moderators, Camille, Angel, and Andrel Harris. Wonderful job. GIS, who, as Mrs. Felicia said, has been a very good support to the department throughout our Child Month activities. Our sponsors, Foster's, Webster's Tours Unlimited, Cayman Island Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist. Thank you. DCFS staff members, or my intake team. I can't express my heartfelt thank you for setting up, for doing all the handiwork. Miss Tina, I know you've been working relentlessly to make this event a success. The teen panel committee members, I was blown away by the responses that you provided today, and I trust that we will all listen and make notes and make positive changes so that we can have a meaningful impact in your lives. Distinguished guests, everyone for actually being here this evening, thank you. Just want to say that we have a little bit of refreshments to the back, and we have our evaluations that we needed to complete. So thank you again for coming. Have a great evening.
Just pause. Just before you leave, I'd like to acknowledge Kai. Kai has been the coordinator of this event. She's done a fantastic job. So I'd like to affirm you by saying, great job. Thank you very much, Kai.